Hey guys, my name is Nikki and I'm so excited that you decided to click on this video so I can catch you up on the books I've been reading. Alright, let's get started. So, this video is going to be all about the books I've been reading during quarantine since I've gotten back from Germany a couple months ago, and just catch you up on the loop about what I think about these books, my ratings, just a little brief synopsis about each one, and let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, the first book is a doozy. I actually have a whole video up about this book on my channel talking about how much I hate it, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one, but the first book is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. So, like I said, I have a whole video review about why I hate this book. I gave this book 2 stars because it was just really predictable. This book is a murder mystery, and it basically, if you mix The Breakfast Club and the show Pretty Little Liars and like add murder, which Pretty Little Liars has, but if you're not familiar with Pretty Little Liars, if you just add murder and The Breakfast Club, then you have One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. So, an interesting premise, that's why I picked it up in the first place, but the execution was not so great. The main issue that I have with this book is that it was predictable, as well as just, I didn't like the writing style. It was a multi-perspective, which usually I do enjoy. But the characters, there just wasn't very many likable characters in this book. So, I didn't like it, gave it 2 out of 5 stars. That is the first book I read. The next book that I read since I've been in quarantine is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Now, this is a reread for me because I love this book, and I discovered that they were free on Kindle Unlimited, so I read them while I was in class in Germany, so I technically started that one in Germany as well as One of Us is Lying. But I completed it like the day after I got back from Germany. So I read that on my computer. I read that so quick because it's such an engaging storyline. Basically, if you don't know what Harry Potter is, then stop living under a rock. But I'll give you a synopsis anyway. So, it's about this boy who figures out that he's a wizard and he goes to wizard school. That's basically it. But it is so much more than that because it is so good and so beautiful. And I love it, and it's my favorite book series of all time. And I started reading The Chamber of Secrets with my mom. So that one's kind of going a little bit slower because our schedules don't really always line up because of my work. So we're working through that. So I did start Chamber of Secrets as well. But Sorcerer's Stone was a book I did complete since I've been back from Germany. Obviously, I'm giving Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone 5 out of 5 stars because it's absolutely incredible and stands the test of time, no matter how many times I read it. The next book that I read during quarantine is Carry On by Rowell. This book, oh my gosh, is so good. Literally, it is amazing. I have picked up this book and started it several times. Now, I was a little bit hesitant to read it because it is very similar to Harry Potter. And that is actually, it draws it from, it kind of almost in a way seems like Harry Potter fan fiction, but it seems like that at the beginning, and then it just totally delves into its own story, and it is so good. This is also a multi-perspective one, but it works. Rowell does a really good job of doing the multi-perspective storytelling, and this book is just so beautiful, so good, such a good story. This book follows the main character named Simon Snow, who goes to a wizarding school, and he's also the chosen one to defeat this thing called the insidious humdrum. So, it is so awesome because, like I said, it starts out kind of really feeling like Harry Potter, but it just goes into its own storyline, which is so great. And I'm trying to articulate even like how I feel about this book because it's so good. But I read this book so quickly, it was so engaging, it had such a fun storyline. This is basically following Simon in his last year at Watford, which is the magic school that he goes to, and just about him trying to defeat the humdrum. A couple things. I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 stars overall. Basically, I have 2 issues with it. The first issue is I really don't like the magic system in this book. It just is weird to me. It just, like, you just use the way that they do, like, spells or phrases that are said a lot, so, and they just become magical, which is interesting in a way, but, like, I don't want to say, like, clean as a whistle, and, like, that be a spell, you know, like the Harry Potter spells are way cooler, and basically I do like Harry Potter more, but this book is still good. The second issue that I had with this book is the romance in it. First of all, for the first 100 pages of this book, the like love interest to Simon isn't present at all, so that like threw me off a little bit. And then they just hate each other the entire time, and then they're just like kissing. So it kind of came out of nowhere for me, and like looking back I'm like, oh, I can kind of see like how they like get together, but it just didn't work for me, and I just didn't love it because it just felt like it came out of nowhere, and they seemed like they were better at hating each other than they were at liking each other. But those are kind of my only two qualms with this book. It's so good. 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid. This book I actually listened to on audiobook, so I didn't read it, but I still count that as reading because it definitely works for me, and I love audiobooks, so I'm listening to that. But that book, holy cow, is so good. It is absolutely incredible. I don't even know how to articulate how good it is. It is a thriller about this girl who is going to her boyfriend Jake's family's house, and the whole way there she's kind of having this internal monologue about how she's thinking of ending things with him, and like she's just kind of going through what the relationship looks like and like why she's thinking about ending things with him. But it is so much more than that. This book, oh my gosh, this entire time you just feel a sense of dread in the way that Iain Reid writes, and it is so spooky. It is so good. It's definitely a scary book. I definitely would not recommend if you don't like scary books because the ending is absolutely crazy. It is so good. It had one of the biggest plot twists that I had ever read about, seen, watched, whatever. One of the biggest plot twists ever. It just totally came out of left field, but it totally makes sense. And I love stories like that. So it is so good. So if you want a really good thriller that's spooky as well as has a really good plot twist, I would definitely recommend I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid. The next book that I read during my time in quarantine is 3 Dark Hounds by Kendare. Oh, why do I keep doing this? Kendare Blake. We're gonna go with that because that's how I've heard other people say it. This book, dang it, I forgot to give I'm Thinking of Ending Things a review. 5 stars for I'm Thinking of Ending Things, FYI. Back to 3 Dark Crowns. 3 Dark Crowns has a really interesting premise. So it is about these 3 sisters who are born onto this matriarchal island. So every generation there's a queen, and that queen has a set of triplets, and then they are separated when they are 6 years old and sent to 3 different basically like factions of this island, and they are learned in the art that their faction is known for. So there's the elementals, the naturalists, and the poisoners. So each one of them has a specific talent that they're kind of like working on throughout the book, and basically when they turn 16 there's this thing called the Ascension Year, and they have to kill each other for the crown. So whoever wins gets the crown and kills her 2 sisters. So that book, it sounds so incredibly interesting. Sounds so good. I loved it. I was so excited for the premise, but it was so poorly executed. This book was so incredibly slow and did not pick up until the last like 75 pages. And this book is like 400 pages long. So for it to wait like 315 pages to pick up the pace really sucked. The fact that I had to wait that long for it to get to a good part in the story really bummed me out because I was so excited about this book. And then the ending kind of like made me want to read the next books, but the rest of the story didn't really like compel me to want to read it that much. So I'm gonna give this book 2.5 out of 5 stars because I felt like it could have been better. I had a lot of hope for it, but it definitely failed on the plot. I mean, seriously, how could you mess up such an interesting premise like that? Whatever, I'm not other. The next book that I read during quarantine is absolutely one of my new favorite books. It is so incredible, and I cannot recommend this book to you enough because it is so good. And that is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. Holy crap. Holy crap. This book is so good. So basically, to tell you a little bit about what this book is about, it is a dystopian style book. So in the future, humanity has defeated death, and so there's no more disease, hunger, war, poverty, anything like that. So the only way that people can be killed is by scythes. And they're specifically trained people who carry out the task of population control, and they kill people. They have to meet like certain quotas, and it is just absolutely incredible. So once you get killed by a scythe, like, you can't be revived. They trust the scythes to make the best decision possible for them, and it follows these two apprentices who are training to become scythes and wrestling with what it means to be alive and what it means to take life. And you would think that scythes would be really feared, but they're actually like really revered as celebrities, and they don't have to like pay for anything. And while people are still scared of them because they're scared of dying, but they don't like they're still kind of like suck up to them, you know? It is so good. It makes you think a lot, which I really appreciate books that do that. It is so good. I started reading the second book in the trilogy, and that is called Thunderhead. And I am so excited to finish the series because it is so incredible, and I cannot recommend this book enough. I seriously, one of my best friends, I told her about this book like every day, and I just eventually just bought it for her and sent it to her house because it is so good. And she loved it too, and she bought the last two in the trilogy, and she's reading them right now. So I love this book. She loves this book. Everybody who I've talked to that has read this book loves this book. So definitely read it. If you read any book out of the ones I have mentioned in this series of books, this one, Scythe by Neal Shusterman, so good. 5 out of 5 stars. And that pretty much completes all the books that I have completed in this time. I have started several other books, one being Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is a romance book. It is about these two authors who were rivals in college but now are neighbors for the summer, and they both have writer's block, so they decide to switch genres to hopefully beat their writer's block, and basically they end up falling in love, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't completely finished it. This book is really, really good. I really am enjoying it. I'll probably, unless like something crazy happens at the end, I'll probably give this book like 5 or 4 stars out of 5. It's really good. It was kind of corny at the beginning, and like the banter of like the main girl January talking in her head just really seemed like really formulaic, and like just like I'm like, who would think that like takes a lot of like practice to think thoughts like that? But some people are funny like that. Just January isn't. This book has made me laugh out loud. I think it is really funny, but like I said, just some of the points in it are kind of corny, and I didn't love that part. And like I also didn't really like the relationship at first, but then I was like, as I kept reading it, I was so here for it, and I'm so happy that I picked up this book. And yeah, so reading that right now. I'm actually going to finish it tonight because I'm so close to finishing that, and then I'm going to pick up the new Hunger Games book. That is all the books I have, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and also make sure you subscribe to my channel if you have not, if you want to hear more about books and also about my weight loss journey. Bye!